Are you actually in London?
I'm in Poole.
Is that Pool? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes. So it's
Is
a
that
city,
pool
but a
pool with
small
like an
city.
L or pool with like Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh.
You're in.
Well, no, sorry, no, it's not. I'm
Oh,
totally
I'm in,
wrong.
I'm
It's
in
both.
poo, Robbie. Robbie,
So
I'm in
it's
poo.
Poole.
Pool.
Poole.
Pool. Is that what is that like on the outskirts of London?
No, it's a couple hours from London. It's by the sea. It's the southwest coast of England.
Everything you say sounds kind of like a storybook fairy tale to me. You know, it's no, just in London, but it's by the sea. All right. Anyway, we are officially rolling. So, folks, you are listening to a Chatter Fact. Again, these are not interviews; they are conversations. And this is only the second time we've gone international, over the pond, man. We are over the pond. Last time we were just like over the American border in Canada, but no. Say hello to the people, and what I better say this right, Julia Galbenu.
That's perfect. Hello,
Really?
everybody.
Hello from England. My goodness gracious, look at you, man. So this is going to be an interesting episode because I haven't had many authors on, and you really are an author. That's what kind of got you on my radar first, is because well, actually, let me back that up. The first thing that I noticed was what you were doing on Instagram, because you were traveling the world and you were going to all these beautiful exotic locations and you were commenting on them. You were taking great photos of them. And then lo and behold, I heard that there may be a book in your future. And then you released a couple chapters, 3 or 4 chapters on Spotify. So I tapped on that and I loved what you did, because people can say they're going to write something and everybody can, but you still have to be a good writer. You are a very good writer. You know, you were just creating little phrases like cloud forest and things like that I just recalled. I was charmed by your writing style. And then of course you have the sweetest, British accent voice, and that's always pleasant to hear. It was soothing. But it was bright, it was funny, and it was smart. And then you got even more interesting when you told me what you were up to in there, because you're like the preservation crusader out there in England.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far at
Oh,
all.
go that
But
far.
I know I could just say anything and you believe me, actually. It's great.
It's the accent; it gets me all the time. What are you doing currently that kind of sidetracked the book?
So at the moment, I work for the National Trust, which is the environmental conservation charity in the whole of Europe. It's the big one. A really cool organization, and I work on a project called Dynamic Dunescapes. It's a partnership project between tons of different environmental organizations, and it's nationwide. It's across England and Wales. I work at a site called Southern Bay, and my role is the engagement officer for that project, which is all about sand dune restoration.
My gosh, because there's not you'd mentioned to me that there isn't as much sort of forest preserve presence in London as much as, or in England altogether, or Europe, as much as you saw when you were visiting the States. Or am I right there? Or
So it's interesting because there's tons of conservation and there's so many nature reserves, and we have so many incredible protected places here in the UK. But what we don't have is the wilderness, the wild spaces, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I got to see when I went traveling around Latin America and other places in India as well. I mean, just untouched wilderness, where humans haven't made an impact. And when you're walking through it, that is exactly pristine ecosystem, exactly how nature has intended it to be. And that's what we don't have in the UK, this complete madness of wildness. And you can't go somewhere and walk a significant amount of time without kind of crossing a road or bumping into some sheep or bumping into some people. And that's not a bad thing, but it's just very, very different.
Yeah, see, so this is what, it sort of opened the door for me because I thought, well, this is even more unique than just being a writer. So it's a good reason, first off. Well, who doesn't want a good job? So you found a good job. That's going to take you away from writing your book. But also, it does make you kind of this crusader of nature. I really love it. So we're going to talk about your travels and your book. But then this new journey you're on, it just sounds cool. And everything you say sounds kind of like, even just, what did you call it? The National Trust?
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before. So it might as well be MI6 to me, which is, it just makes everything sound cool. In my mind, whenever you're scoping different lands and areas, I'm assuming that you're always jumping from a plane or sneaking in through scuba diving, a secret underwater boat. So just so you know, that's the vision I have. But your photos,
Excellent. Let's go for that.
your photos on Instagram are so cool and so beautiful. And it's one thing to make a stamp on an Instagram or on a social media where you're showing all this beauty and kind of saying, "Oh, look at that. I've done that because my gigs have taken me around the world." So whenever if I'm on that island in Tahiti or Hawaii, maybe I'm dropping the name of the waterfall, but you were able to go deeper in and do it creatively, which I liked. So, all right, let's back this up real quick. Where did you grow up?
Okay, so I grew up in Southampton in England, a little village. Well, I say village, it's kind of become a town now. It was a beautiful place, had friends all nearby me in schools, but it wasn't necessarily crazy nature, but it also wasn't in the middle of a city. It was very much suburbs.
Now, when you say it, even if it's changed now and became a little more developed, when you say it was more of a village when you were a kid, what does that mean? What was it like?
It's tricky because I don't know whether it was my memory. When you're a child, you have all these very vibrant memories, but it also has definitely changed. I mean, the thing I loved to do when I was young is just explore all those kind of like snippets of woodland that we had left and just areas of greenery where, you could just walk around and wander in the nature. And I just always like make up stories when I was a kid. I had a very active imagination, still definitely do. And yeah, just explore those areas. But now I go back to those places. It's quite sad, really, because a lot of those places where I had so many childhood memories are now parking lots or
Starbucks.
they turn into buildings or whatever.
Starbucks is
Exactly. Yeah. There's a Costa actually now.
really
Classic.
There's Costco out there?
No, Costa.
Oh, what's a Costa?
Oh, okay. That's like I don't know. I thought this was everywhere, but it's like Starbucks. It's a coffee shop in England.
Really? All right. No, so that's interesting. And so then were you already into kind of the creative arts as well then growing up as far as writing goes? Was that just something that followed you?
Yeah, I don't really know you know what? Yeah, I probably was actually because I still remember remember in secondary school. And I would just love English classes. I really would. And I remember we got chances to write random things. And I just absolutely loved it. I loved being able to just get really creative and really imaginative and really out there and write. And for a while, because I've always loved nature, I've always loved science, I've always loved writing too. So I thought for a while, okay, I want to do science journalism, like environmental writing. Like that's where I want to be at. But funnily enough, my English teacher at A level basically told me that I shouldn't pursue that career, that I wasn't good enough.
No way.
I was pretty heartbroken, to be honest. But then it actually led me on to just studying biological sciences at uni, which I loved. I fell in love with that. But actually, then I came back to writing at uni. I started writing for
When you say
uni magazine.
When you say uni, are you talking university? Is that?
Yeah, that's a little term we always use. Yeah,
Oh, this is great. Okay, I'm picking up stuff. Yeah, all right. At first, I didn't know if she owned a unicorn. Was that short for unicorn? No, she went to uni. All right, cool.
I got my uni and my unicorn made all my dreams come true.
So, wait a minute. What did you end up getting a degree in then?
So I got my degree in biological sciences.
Biological sciences. Okay, so then there's obviously a big part of journaling that would be involved in that kind of degree and getting that sort of degree, right? I mean, I would assume with assignments and such.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was, it's always essay writing and stuff like that, but there was no chance to be creative.
Right.
And
Did
that's
you?
really what I felt like I was missing because I love that creative writing, like writing scientifically. Oh, it's dull, it's boring. Being able to write whimsically and magically and romantically, like, oh, that's what I love.
Well, then when I have some friends that studied biology and they ended up on a boat somewhere in the Caribbean and things like that. So did your studies take you abroad then? Were there any trips or?
Yeah, no, there was definitely trips. So the first trip I did was the first year of uni in the summertime. I went to Peru and I spent a month there doing some science research in the Amazon rainforest. And that's really where I got my first experience, of
Okay,
these
when
proper wild spaces.
when you're going to the Amazon, okay, give me the abridged version of what are you studying? What are you doing over there then? Like,
Okay, so I basically was a research assistant. So I went out and spent a month in the Amazon on a boat, living in like probably 2 days travel from any civilization, really, really remote. And essentially, we were just going out on transects and surveys every day, collecting data, basically assisting the guys doing their PhDs and their long-term research, collecting data for them. And the data, all in all, is used to help protect the rainforest and see where we're at with it and if things are improving or getting worse.
how are things going with the rainforest at the time? How's the rainforest doing these days?
Oh, not
Lots happen.
good.
No,
I
because
mean,
there's a lot happening in the world, and it's been a minute since I've heard anyone talk about the rainforest.
it's true. It's true so much. Well, I mean, that's the thing. So much is happening in the world that it's hard to pull all our attentions everywhere because there's there's crazy news and tragic stories everywhere you look nowadays. But yeah, no, the rainforest is suffering a lot, and I mean, there's so many problems there. But climate change is a huge one, and it was interesting because when we were there, the rainforest floods seasonally, but they were saying the years afterwards, like just the flooding there was crazy, and places where you could walk before, like you couldn't go anywhere like that, and yeah, climate change has a massive impact on it. But there's so many problems. There's hunting there as well. There's urbanization, just getting rid of the forest, logging, all of these problems. And that's why I feel very lucky to have experienced the part of the rainforest that was so pristine. Like we actually saw a jaguar when we were there in like real life. I mean, it was amazing. And like you have to be in proper pristine rainforest to see a creature like that. While so much of the rainforest now is almost fragments and tiny, just tiny patches of what it used to be.
Holy cow, that's terrible. That's scary. Urbanization, like there's that much that's gone on out there. I didn't even realize, they're knocking that much down. What are they doing? Is that like all of a sudden the same place you were years ago when you visited? Like, is that a Starbucks or a Costa?
I don't think so. Yeah, not crazy like urbanization like that. It's more like they are cutting down trees to do, livestock grazing, or they're logging it to be able to get the fuel from the trees, or they're planting crops, whatever it is. It's stuff. It's more stuff like land clearance for agriculture. It tends to be the big one.
You hear about how important things are when it comes to preserving plots of nature throughout the globe. But the Amazon, that's the biggest deal of them all. That's just what the theme has been for decades now. Yeah, what really is it? Because I haven't even thought about this because I haven't heard about it in years. Maybe up to 7 years ago, it seemed like it was still sort of in the mainstream. You still heard about how important it was to preserve the Amazon, and like we keep saying, there's so many silly, stupid things going on, taking up everyone's attention that has taken a backseat to a million other things, many of which are probably not as important. So why don't you reassociate us with the facts here? Like what is so important to the planet about that Amazon staying true to its natural form?
Well, globally, I mean, the biggest impact the Amazon has is on our weather and climate change. People really do call it the lungs of our earth, the amount of plants that live and grow there, the amount of carbon dioxide that they absorb, the air that they produce. I mean, that is air that goes around the world. The Amazon creates the weather. There are so many trees there that it creates the clouds, it creates rain, everything like that. So I think globally, that's the biggest impact that the Amazon has. It's on these crazy climatic and weather conditions. But I think the other reason why there's so much fixation on the Amazon is it's one of those places that is one of our last surviving wildernesses. It's an area where we haven't yet gotten to, and that is still pristine and crazy in biodiversity and life and all of that. But I'll be honest, there has been a lot of intention on the Amazon, but also I think sometimes there's also a lot of pressure on the Amazon that like we need to, a lot of Western countries look at the people and what they're doing around the Amazon, and there's a lot of finger pointing. It's like, oh, you're doing this and it's really bad and this is really awful. But actually, like, let's look at our own countries, rather than finger pointing and saying that everyone else is to blame. What about our own countries? I mean, in the UK, we used to have temperate rainforest in the UK. There used to be huge areas of temperate rainforest, and now there's just tiny fragments. So why is no one talking about our loss of rainforest? Why is no one concerned about that? Why are we always finger pointing at somebody else? And I think there's a lot of that's really why I came back to the UK, to be honest. That's why I ended my travels and came back, because I felt an obligation to actually make the impact in my home country. Rather than going to another country and saying how it should be done, we should actually be looking at our own places and determining the change there. And actually, okay, we've lost our rainforests in the UK, but can we get them back?
Wow.
And that's what I really want to do.
So then when you think about the people opposing something like that, there's so many things in the world where we see science versus the industrious folks. And it's almost become, a comic book for both sides in a way. But is that who's not seeing the science? Is it really someone who can see where they can make a monetary movement that serves them, so that they can just, I'm not going to be here in 60 years, so who cares? Let me make the buck as I can. Is that the main entity that is kind of squashing any kind of preserving?
In a word, yes.
Yeah.
I think it is. But we can't be ignorant. Money is literally what makes the world go round, and it is where all of the big decisions come into. However, having said that, money is also where the environmental movement can have so much gain, because now we are seeing so much investment and potential in green energy and the benefits of natural spaces for mental health, for well-being, physical health, all of these things. And actually that is slowly becoming seen as a money-making business as well, the environmental movement and all of the benefits that come with that. So while, yes, it has been the main problem and the loss of so much of what this world has, I think that there is becoming a proper shift now where we are turning away from that. And I think, honestly, it's the only way that we will ever be able to go forward with the environment is if it has this money benefit, because it always comes back to money. It's sad, but it just does.
When you say green energy, like how far are we getting? Like how much of that might become normal over the next 2 decades? Not just with the technology, but with the application of the technology in real life.
I see it happening even sooner than that. I really think it's incredible. When it comes to technology, it's amazing how quick things get developed, and then how quickly everyone jumps on it when they see that there's going to be a money benefit and an efficiency benefit and all of that. I mean, Google is now carbon neutral, and they're aiming to be carbon negative soon. I mean, there's so much, these massive organizations that are doing it. Even in the UK,
Wait, what
has
does that
so
mean when
much.
you say Google's going carbon negative? Like, with as far as that's where they're putting a lot of money or support, or is there like a technological trick there that I'm unaware of? Like, from now on, your search engines will like push out oxygen. What are you talking about there?
Yeah, so being carbon neutral, they can do it through green energy,
Uh-huh.
right? But to be carbon negative, then yeah, how exactly does that work? So there's loads of different ways you can do that, and a lot of organizations do it in offsetting their carbon emissions. And that's actually a few projects that I was working on in Honduras and Ecuador. And essentially, what we were doing there is we were measuring all the trees and we were calculating how much carbon is stored in the trees. And then essentially what you do is you can sell off those areas as carbon credits to organizations. So organizations buy these carbon credits, and by doing so, that they basically ensure those trees are going to stay intact, they're going to stay there. And it's essentially a way to buy the green energy. And it's not necessarily the best way in terms of, okay, globally, we're not reducing our carbon emissions. However, you are protecting those areas and of course all the biodiversity benefits that come with that. And it's just in general like a really great push for organizations to be kind of heading that way, and an opportunity for them to go carbon neutral themselves, but can they go even further and actually have an even better benefit on our world.
Dude, how old are you? You're a baby. This is crazy. You're in your
I'm really not. I have a young looking
but
face.
you're in
I'm
your
26.
yeah, you're in your 20s. You are a baby, and I love the fact that somebody with your youthful zest has not only the education to back it, but the energy and the drive going in this direction. This is what we need. We need somebody your age attacking this stuff, learning about it, applying it, pushing a message out there. It's so much better having somebody like you in this position than that 63-year-old. And that's nothing, I'm not being an ageist here by no means, but it just seems like so many problems come on from every newer generation. Every new generation figures out a new way that the old generation didn't have to maybe hurt things. And it's nice to know that there are people in a newer generation that are creating a helpful idea and just a mission statement for the good of the world. And that's huge. So I love that about you because you speak like somebody that's been on this planet much longer than you have. The wealth of information you seem to have swirling around your head.
I don't know about that. You should fact check everything I say.
Great. Oh no. She's not even working for the National Trust. She's a mime.
Exactly.
She's a mime for hire, but dressed as a tree. That's as far as it goes. No, but it's really interesting, and obviously, when you work for, you're working. It's technically a government job, would it be, or what is the National Trust? What is that?
So the National Trust, it is a charity across the UK, and it basically has heritage places and natural areas as well that it owns and that it protects and looks after, but also has a big mission of it being for everyone forever. That's their kind of slogan.
Oh my God, you are like the Mission Impossible for the trees. Now that you describe it to me, it is kind of it's MI6, but with like just leafier.
I will say yes to that.
Okay, so then you get involved with the travel, you get involved with the science. So now I'm backing up a little bit. Where does the whole logging and book idea come to mind? I mean, the traveling that you did that I saw, I think happened after college, or were you still in uni?
No. I had finished uni and I had got already done a job in India and a job in London, and then I went traveling to Latin America for 15 months after that, and that's where I wrote the book.
15 months of travel
Yeah.
in Latin America. Holy crap. Where did you go for those 15 months? All right, and tell me what really spoke to you the most, just I want to hear some of your crazy stories.
Oh gosh, the crazy stories.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I started off in Honduras and I spent 2 months there in the middle of the cloud forest. camping and just doing research specifically on this carbon sequestration data for the carbon credits. Crazy story there. Actually, this is kind of a crazy story. I was sat by a river and I was doing some yoga, and then I think I was just sat cross-legged, doing a bit of meditation. And I opened my eyes in a very, calm Zen state. And about a meter from me was a giant emerald palm pit viper. And I mean, if one of those bites you, your best bet is that you're going to lose your limb. Like they are lethal, absolutely lethal. And I just jumped up on this log and screamed for the herpetologist, the scientist on site who does reptiles. I was like, there's an emerald palm pit viper. I was so it was so close to me. And he comes running over with his snake hook. He's just excited to go see. He doesn't care about my safety at all. And by the time he gets there, I mean, this snake is so chilled out. It just slithers away into the undergrowth, and that's it. It's absolutely beautiful. But it was quite a shock when I just opened my eyes and saw it there.
How big do you think that was?
Oh, it was big. I don't really know in terms of estimates. Like, it was big. Like, it's got to have been like 1.5 meters or something.
Did you know what it was because you're kind of prepped for the dangerous stuff before getting there? Is that kind of like, do they give you okay, look out for this sort of manual?
Yeah, not really. It was actually more like we're all massive geeks there, and we were like, oh, this is a really cool snake, and we had seen a few of them already, a few babies. And the most beautiful snake, because in the light, their scales shine emerald and kind of bluish tinge to them. They're so stunning. So I'd seen a few of them, so I knew it straight away, but more from a geeky side, not from a danger side. However, people do love to give like all the ghost stories and stuff on the first night of this and this can kill you, just to add a bit of adrenaline to your first night's sleep.
Yeah, because this is why I don't want to go to any jungles. Like, I love the idea of seeing something in its true habitat as opposed to like a zoo. But with my luck, it'll be, oh, there's the viper that gnaws at your ankle, and then with the one gnawing, your whole leg's gone. Oh, and there's the mosquito that makes your head fall off your body. Like, I would run into the most... I have bad luck anyway. I have bad luck if I'm in my office. So put me in the jungle, I don't know.
I promise you would be totally fine out there. And that's the thing, it's the fear. And I think a lot of people are really frightened about those things. But I think actually they're more frightened from stuff that they see on TV and in movies and everything. Because actually, I've got to be honest with you, that's what I love about those places. It's the danger. In the UK, everything's too safe. I could go out barefoot, and the worst thing that could happen to me is get stung by a few nettles. I loved the fact that I was seeing proper animals there that were, that could hurt you. And it sounds kind of weird, but it was exciting and adrenaline filled. And nowadays, there's a really amazing journalist and scientist who talks about ecological boredom. Mm-hmm. It's about how now everything is too sterile. Our natural environment is sterile. It lacks so many keystone species, but it also lacks that excitement, that adrenaline, that like, oh, what if? And that's what I absolutely loved about it.
Oh my God, no, you can keep the what ifs to you. I just, the only danger I like is like when I'm walking downtown Chicago and I'm just wondering like, oh man, maybe that cheeseburger might kill me if I have it. And that's as far as how. What's really funny though is I really like your response to seeing the snake, because you would think a scientist, somebody in this world, somebody who's traveled, they see something like that, and there's this natural instinct to do whatever you're supposed to do. I would assume freeze or slowly back away or whatever. And I love the fact that an experienced person who had already been around the world saw the viper and went, "Oh my God!" So I love that part of the story. I like that you jumped on a rock. I mean, because typically, is that the right move? Like, would that make a snake maybe attack more?
Potentially. You definitely want to be calm.
Yeah.
I was not calm. It was so close to me.
How
Honestly,
close?
I just opened my eyes. It was right there. I was like, oh my gosh.
How close was it?
Genuinely, it was within 1 meter.
So, does that kind of snake, I mean, is that what they do? Would they would they try to sneak up on a human or?
Oh no, no, no. I genuinely think I was just in its path. And because I was sat there completely still, I don't think it even really noticed me. And it was literally just went straight past me. It wasn't like it was coming towards me. It's like I was just on its path and it just went slided all over past me. And that was it.
Did it keep moving? Did it keep moving when you screamed and everything, or did it
It
pause?
did. I didn't actually, somehow it didn't even, wasn't even disturbed in the slightest. It just kept on doing its thing and kept on going on its course.
Oh, then this was probably just a humorous snake. If I had to guess, it was with a pack of snakes, and then it probably saw you doing the yoga, and then said to his buddies, okay, watch this, check this out. I'm gonna make a jump. All right, and they probably had bets. Maybe they had. Do they eat mice or something? Maybe they had a mouse, and they're like, all right, listen, I'm gonna bet you 2 mice that I can get her to jump on that rock, not that one right there. So that's probably what happened in my head, because everything's a Disney movie in my mind.
Hey, I'm not saying that's inaccurate. You never know.
All right, you heard that, folks. The scientist said it's possible. So, okay, so that's a great story, by the way. And again, is it during this 15 months that all of a sudden the idea popped into your head to write a book?
Yeah, so you know what it was totally unplanned. I mean, to be honest, I've always dreamed about traveling the world and writing about biology and nature and all of that. But I genuinely forgot about that dream when that teacher was like, nah, you'll never be a writer. So I just kind of let it slip away. But when I was out in Honduras, I was just journaling loads and I was writing people letters and things like that. And I out of nowhere, was writing all the time, and I kind of just developed this style of writing in second person, which is a bit weird, I suppose, if you're journaling. Why am I writing in second person? But I was writing in second person, and I was, kind of writing it in the style that I've written the whole book actually. And I just developed it. And I just kind of fell in love with writing like that, and I just kept on writing, kept on writing. Then I started doing some posts on Instagram and little bits and bobs, and then my dad just said to me like, hey, why don't you just write a book? I was like, yeah, okay then. And I was out there for a really long time. I had a good amount of time on my hands too. I was in some places I was really had really luxury on the amount of time I had. So I just started like streaming together all of the stories and the things that had happened to me, but also all the things that I learned as well. And essentially just put them into chapters and put them into sections. So each section is a different country that I went into, and each chapter has a different kind of theme about something. So, one of them is about the kind of secret life of plants. The other one is kind of about nighttime animals. Another one is more of a personal story of like my personal struggles of trying to find the perfect conditions to go snorkeling and getting myself in ridiculous danger, or collapsing my kayak and all this kind of stuff, getting lost or whatever it is. Each chapter has a different kind of theme to it. But really like that they all just kind of came together. And then it wasn't until probably about 10 months down the line that I was in Colombia, and I was just in the mountains working at this lovely little kind of eco lodge. And I would work in the mornings, and then at lunchtime I'd make a wonderful feast of food of stuff that we had grown. And in the afternoon, I'd spent the entire afternoon to evening just writing and writing and writing and actually pulling everything together to a book.
That's fantastic, man. And it's funny that teacher who it's odd for a teacher to kind of shut the door, but for the teacher to close that door, and then for you to suddenly gain all this knowledge and passion toward the sciences. Maybe what she didn't see was what you did when you really had something you felt passionate about, under your pen or your keyboard. Maybe that's what you needed. But I'm so glad that you pursued it, because you are a good writer. You really are. So you're definitely going to have to like give a little na whenever the book's done to that teacher. You have to dedicate the book, or send that teacher a copy.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, actually.
Yeah, and then say, what have you done?
Exactly.
Okay, so then that book writes itself, though, because you're living that life, Here's what I'm interested in. Yeah, that's very cool, So, and then I can also see how a book can stall, not only with a job, but then all of a sudden you're pulled out of the environment that's helping you write the book, which is a little tricky,
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the thing. Like, I mean, I was coming back from whatever experience I had or whatever thing I learned, and I was writing that night, as things were fresh and everything like that. But actually, I wrote the entire content of the book abroad. But when I came home, I was like, okay, I'm going to edit it, I'm going to put it together and get it all finalized. Like life gets in the way at home. And then I got this fantastic job, which I absolutely love. And it's just it's such an amazing job, so much fun. But you run out of time. And now I've got another project that I'm doing as well. So the book is just, my dad constantly is like, what about the book? What about the book? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get on it. And every now and again, I get a weekend free and I'm like, okay, just go crazy and write and read, and I absolutely love it. It's so much fun, and it brings me back to all those memories as well. But yeah, I do just need to get down and just put it all together because, like I said, all the content's written. It's just the editing and
Oh
the
my
little bits
God.
involved.
Yeah, because I didn't know that. I thought for some reason you got a few chapters in and then you were paused on content. So the whole book is done. It's just an editing
Yeah,
issue now.
yeah. It's probably about 200 pages, all written already.
Oh my God. Write this book, man. Listen, I'm gonna be the opposite. I'm gonna be the kind of the flip side of your teacher. Then I'm the one telling you like finish what you started. Finish the book.
I know. Okay, I will. I
There
will
was
this year.
there was a zest and a zeal that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed your narration was great, by the way, because there is that excitement. It was real. So you couldn't have found a better person to read your material than you because you could just tell the love came through. But it was good. The content itself was interesting. So if that's your style, I think I think it was bright. I think it was quick. People, make sure you check this out. Where can they find it again? Because it's on Spotify. But was it called? Because I think I just clicked a
So,
link, so I can't remember the name.
yeah. So the actual book is called Find Your Wild. So you can search that on Spotify. And my name's Julia Galbenu, so you can search that too. But you can find it on my website, which is called wildspace.uk.
Wildspace.uk. Oh, tell me about
Yeah.
the website.
So the website is actually not too much to do about the book at all. You'll find the book in a kind of one of the categories in the background of the website, but the
No, the
main purpose of
website's
the
mainly just
website.
you're like these are my techniques for snake jumping. How to leap when you see a snake. Is it? Because that would be great. I'd watch that website if you just have different stools around your apartment and you just leap on each one. So this is a
That's a
cobra.
better idea
Yeah,
actually than what
this
I've
is how I
done.
would jump if I saw a cobra. That's a garden snake. I'm not moving. I'm sitting down having a coffee. See, this is that what the website is, or is my guess off? I'm assuming my guess is off.
It's a little bit off, but a couple of edits and I could get it there if you want.
Thank you. So tell me
So
about it.
yeah, so the website is this new project. And I say new project, but I had the idea when I was in Latin America. And it's a really big idea that I've had. And it's really, again, the reason why I came home, the reason why I got this job, everything. And it's this new project that I'm hoping to get off the ground. It's called the Wild Space Project. And essentially, the idea is to obtain a large area of land in England and essentially leave it completely to nature. So have a zero management approach. So everywhere in the UK, there is land management, even our nature reserves, even the most hidden forests, whatever it is, there's huge amounts of management and alterations and people just having an influence on the landscape. But this area, I want there to be a zero management. So people aren't coming in. We're not cutting down trees. We're not planting things. We're not even creating paths. This is a landscape where the plants can just grow and change and adapt and do whatever they want and go completely crazy. But that isn't to say that people aren't involved in this. I want this wild space project to happen as much for nature as for the people. Because I really believe in the UK, we've really lost something. We've lost this appreciation of wilderness and getting lost in nature and this sense of exploration as well. Our nature experience in the UK has become quite sterile. We go on paths and we go to very pristine areas, gardens, parks, and they're great, but you find people not being present in those circumstances. They're on their phone, their headphones are in, or they're just chatting to somebody. When you get those real benefits of nature, it's when you are immersed in it. You're creating your own path, you're jumping over trees, you're walking through swamps or along rivers or whatever it is. You're having to find your way back, you're getting a bit lost, you find an amazing tree or flower or mushroom, fungus, you're like, wow, a deer goes past you, and then you somehow manage to find your way back. And those are the nature experiences, those wild experiences that I think we have no opportunity to gain in the UK. So this area, this wild space that I want to create, it's a place where people can come and experience this rawness of nature. They can come and they have 100% access to the area. They're encouraged to go there, to explore there, to create their own path, to navigate their way through, and to just reap all of those wonderful benefits that such wild spaces would have.
Holy cow. Forget just in your neck of the woods. The world needs that, because I think across the land, the distractions of technology and life have taken over more than you would think. It's great that here in the U.S. there are so many giant blocks of land, whether it be desert, whether it be forest. There are a lot of places, but we're still losing touch from the nature. I mean, if you look at something like an Instagram alone, I think a lot of people are taking things in, but I also think a lot of people are getting to these beautiful spots, taking the photo and concentrating a bit more about capturing and posting the moment rather than living in the moment. So altogether, that's becoming a thing that we need to overcome, like you could be kind of part of the world collective on this, what a beautiful idea. Okay. But I will have to say, I have a question regarding the untouched aspect, because until you said, folks can come in and make their own path, that was something I was wondering about, because I think it's a fascinating experiment to get a landmass and to leave it alone, to let nature do its thing. Because even I would assume from a scientific point of view, it would be interesting just to see what happens when the earth is left alone and let it do its thing. So I was assuming that you were heading toward, then we have, every 6 months we kind of sneak in and we take a peek to see where we're headed. So I would assume that's part of that experiment. But then when you say you want to make it available to the common folks, how does that work? Like, how do you make it accessible while leaving it untouched at the same time? What's the plan there?
So for me, that's part of the experiment. It's to see how people can actually have an impact on nature by being part of its process, by being part of its growth.
Oh, so there are guidelines, kind of, maybe?
Well, the only guidelines is, the typical stuff of, leave no trace, like, leave only footprints, don't go in and leave loads of rubbish and destroy the area. But, actually, I don't want it to be real heavy. I think a lot of our nature reserves are covered in rules, and, kids come there and they're not even allowed to, pick up the stones or throw some sticks around or just jump on a tree or go off path or whatever. I don't want that. I think those rules, again, restrict the experience, and it's about people being free in that area. And I totally hear what you're saying, like you would think, well, why not just fence off the area and just leave that to nature? But actually, that's been done in the UK, and we know what happens there. It's a pretty, simple kind of way of it going through ecological succession, and it going from one type of plants to another, to another, to another. But the thing is, in not even in the UK, worldwide, where you get the highest biodiversity, where you get the healthy ecosystems functioning, is this balance between plants and animals. And it's by animals creating disturbance in the plants. So by eating the plants, by trampling through them, whatever it is, by doing that, they are opening up the land and they're creating loads of different microhabitats. And it's all those little microhabitats that result in that biodiversity. Now, the thing is, in the UK, we've lost all of those massive herbivores. We've lost all of those big carnivores. We hunted them to extinction hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they're completely out the window. And whilst I would love to see, lynx come back and wolves come back to the UK, I think it's going to be a very long time, if ever, when that might happen. So what my interest is in actually how can people fill in that role. I think there's such a big thing in conservation now where people are seen as the enemy. It's either people experiences or it's nature. Why can it not be both? How can we have a positive impact on our ecosystem simply by being in it and walking through it? Can we take the role that a giant herbivore would have taken by trampling through vegetation, by breaking branches as we go, by building makeshift bridges out of logs that we roll over onto a river? These are things that elephants, because we used to have elephants in the UK, back then, this kind of prehistoric version of it. These are things that they would do to our landscape. So I believe that we can have this beneficial impact, but that is a belief because it's not based on any fact. So that's where wild space comes in. It's an experiment, and it really is an experiment. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but that's part of it. That's part of the excitement. It's part of the learning process. We leave this space of nature alone. We don't go in and we don't purposely manage it. We don't do anything that actually opens up the area, but we allow people to go in it and see what kind of benefit they can have on the ecosystem.
And those people don't have cell phones, plastics with them, and they're totally naked, I would assume. Is that?
No, not at all.
All right,
You've got to appeal to the broader audience.
Okay, fair enough.
However, I've got to say, I do love the idea of I've kind of pictured it in my mind, like a million times, and I love the idea of a visitor welcome centre and there being lockers, and if people want, they can put their phones and everything like that in the locker, and then instead they can just be given a GPS. That can help them to, it's just for safety, people get a bit scared if you want to get lost somewhere.
Right.
So take away that phone, the technology, but give them something else, and they can still have that kind of wild experience while feeling safe.
And I love the idea of that, almost becoming the norm, and people know when they go to your space that even if it's on an honor system, everybody honors the system because they understand the beauty of your message and what you're trying to do. I really like this a lot. I think this is a great idea. You're creating nature's Disney World.
Yeah, you know what? It's exactly like you said. It's about people being part of this, and I think there's so much where people go to natural landscapes, and there's huge problems, right, of people leaving litter everywhere and just abusing the landscape. And I think that's because a lot of people just see that as a theme park. They think that someone's going to clean up after them, or that it doesn't belong to them. It doesn't matter to them. They can use and abuse it. Whilst this place is more about people owning it. We are all stewards of the land. It's reclaiming that connection and that ownership of nature, and actually working with the people to have that. So, I don't want to, if this place ever happens, it's not somewhere where I make all the rules and the decisions. I want to constantly, be chatting with the local community, and they are involved in those decisions as much as anyone else. And really, this is their place. This is something we're all looking after together. We're all stewards of this land. We're all going to respect it, and we're all just going to have these incredible experiences by, let's turn in our phones at the beginning. And when you see someone there, you know that they're not going to be on their phone either, and you can just have these proper wild and natural experiences.
I love your mind, man. I want to live in your brain. I think it'd be a lot of fresh water there and snakes that wouldn't bite me. I just feel good about everything that's going on between your ears right now. I like it. This is really cool. And, I think messaging is a huge thing when you say, when you're more welcoming and this kind of sharing idea of this space, and you're telling people they're the stewards of the land, as opposed to some of the messaging in certain areas, which I totally can understand it. I'm not faulting somebody who runs a forest preserve, but still there is kind of a don't do that, you can't do that. And even though the signs are right, we shouldn't throw the plastic bottle, next to the creek. It's just stupid, and it's dishonoring the land. But sometimes the messaging itself can cause it and can be the difference between whether somebody follows those rules or not. And it sounds like you're trying to build something that makes them truly a part of it. That alone can change people's outlook, and it could really create this sort of Zen feel-good experience for everybody. I think you definitely are onto something, and I think you're definitely heading towards something that will increase the respect factor for the people experiencing it. I really hope this works out for you. This is quite a man. Do you see this? You are a young girl with big elder-like ideas. You know, this is the kind of thing to me somebody who's lived a much longer, vast life would come up with. No, I'm telling you, man, wisdom is ageless, and you have wisdom. And I would imagine this is quite a journey, though. This is going to be a long journey for you, isn't it? Right now, are you thinking, like, yeah, by the time it's done, I will be in my 60s, Robby?
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? It's difficult because I feel so passionately about it. And honestly, I can imagine exactly. And I've spent so many hours dreaming it and thinking about it. And I've written it all down. I mean, I've written a detailed proposal that you can read on the website that goes into all the specifics about it. And I really want to make it happen, you know, and ideally, actually, I don't want to wait that long. I'm on a 3-year project with the National Trust right now. I've got 2 years left. I want to be able to do this when I finish. I want to be able to go wholeheartedly into it. I mean, that is obviously hugely idealistic, but that's what I want. And right now, for me, the biggest challenge is finding out where this can actually be located, because it has to be a big enough area. It has to be at least 300 hectares. And it has to be big enough because...
Wait a minute. What's a hectare?
Oh, golly, you guys use acres, don't you?
Yeah, I guess
something weird like that. What do you use?
Acres, yeah.
You know what?
So, like, do you get, like, in London, do you actually get, like, a lot of guys named Hector and you lay them down and, like, okay, well, this is about 12 hectares wide. Is that? Because I know a lot of hectares. And I know at least 4 hectares I could send over to you if you need them. Is that what a hectare is?
That's all I need. Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. You know, can we sub them in? Maybe throw a mic in there? Oh, it's 3 mics large. What is that? So a hectare is kind of the equivalent, close enough, I would assume, to an acre.
You know what? I've just Googled it for you.
Okay.
300 hectares is 741 acres.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that. Oh, we're learning a lot, folks. It's about time too, right? Because you spent some time in the States, and then you know, or with people. You know, we have a mutual friend, Tori. This is how I met you, right? She was a fan of my shows, and then she brought you in, which was great. But it's funny how, you know, that flip-flop of just, you know, basic ideas and concepts and measurements, which, you know, are just, the ideas are universal, but the terms are totally different. I'd never heard that in all my days. Never heard that. Hector. All right. I'm going to remember that. You know, I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to start applying it because I like the way it sounds. Hector sounds more fun than acre. You know, I'm in, because acre sounds like a type of corn to me. It's never really sounded like any kind of measurement. Hector, that sounds a little space agey too, you know, because you'd hear vector.
Serious,
yeah, I'm in. Oh, man. So it looks like I have a long journey ahead of myself as well, bringing the hectares back to the United States.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that one.
All right. No, so when you're, to backtrack a little bit further, though, what were you searching for when you have a degree such as yours? You know, it sounds like you found the perfect job for you, for your knowledge and your love. But how did you go on the hunt? Did you have to just broaden the whole thing from zoos to preservations to whatever? Like, what was the hunt like, and how did you land on this job?
You know what? It was tricky. It was really tricky because I am picky. I'm very picky. I want to be able to do some work, like a job that challenges me, that I'm passionate about, that has a good cause, all of this, and tie in all the engagement aspects. And I want a job that's diverse and keeps me on my toes. So I was applying for jobs all over the UK. I wasn't doing it local at all. I went up to Newcastle. I don't know if that means anything to you, but I had an interview about, gosh, it was probably about like an 8-hour drive or something. And my friends actually took me, and then we made a little trip of it there. But I was applying all over the country because the jobs that I wanted were just so far far in between. They just didn't come around a lot. And this job, the one I got the National Trust, it came up, and gosh, it looked so serious and looked really like, up there with the big dogs. And I was like, oh, I remember having a conversation with my mum and my friend. We were having dinner. I was like, this job looks really cool, but I don't think there's any point in me applying. Like, I'm never going to get it. Like, this is a way too high-end job. And my mum just kind of snapped at me and was like, Julie, just apply. Like, you don't know what you're going to do. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, just apply. And I was like, oh, okay, then, fill in another job application. Like, by that point, I was up into my ears with job applications. Like, oh dear, oh dear. So I applied, and I got an interview, and I went to the interview, and I had to do a presentation, and then there was the typical question and answers afterwards. And I just absolutely fell in love during the interview, with the job, because as I was talking to them, as I got to be able to, really understand what it was about, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the job for me. And I came out of it, and I just rang my friend, and I was like, oh, I want that job so much, so much, but I just don't know if I'll get it, because as I was leaving, I saw someone else come out the interview, and they were twice as old as me, and probably obviously way more experienced. And then they called me up, and they called me a day late. So I was like, definitely been rejected. No, yeah, 100%. Try and put a smiley voice on when I answer the phone. And then they tell me I've got the job. And I'm just completely silent. I don't even respond. They're like, are you happy about this? And I was like, yeah, I'm really happy.
Well, wait a minute. Did you tell me earlier that you got the job and then you took this 15-month trip?
No,
okay.
It was when I came back.
Gotcha. Because, wow, anybody able to make a 15-month trip at any time in life, good for you, just for that alone, So, well, congrats on that. How long have you been in this position now?
So, a year and a couple months.
My God, the ripples you've made even just with your own ideas in such a short time. Because, this idea you have for your place is something that I would imagine your employers could help with, or at least point you in the right direction somewhat, or put you at least maybe in the right circles for it. I don't know.
It's definitely the right place to be. I mean, the National Trust, what better organization to be part of and learned from. And yeah, the connections and contacts, definitely. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just kind of keeping my ears open. I've got everything ready with this new project idea. I've got a proposal, I've got a website, I've got a video, I've got everything you can imagine.
Is the video on the website?
It is, yeah.
Man, I'm going to really fall down the rabbit hole after this. Like, I'm going to do some deep diving, I'm going to finish listening to the rest of the chapters. Okay. And we're bouncing all over the place because you are, I'm telling you, you in yourself are like a vast, wonderful, beautiful forest. I'm telling you. Like, seriously, I feel like every part of the story that you're telling me, like, oh no, I want to stand by the tree, and wait, I'm going to run back by the creek now. Like, whoa, where's the snake? Like, so I'm sorry if I'm bouncing all over the place, but I do want to backtrack because I feel like you still might have some stories loaded in your arsenal here for this chat. Because you're talking about a lot of months in some crazy places. And even your own plight, the story with the viper, obviously you're running into, boy, nature's just slithering right by you. But then when you're talking about having some personal issues, whether it's a kayak or what you had, what kind of hardships are there? Because there isn't a restroom nearby. There isn't a Starbucks nearby, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
Talk to me about being in the middle of nowhere, and talk to me about some of that plight.
You know what? Like, it's amazing, because I feel like you go through every emotion. You really, really do. And you feel loneliness, and then you feel such comfort, and you feel scared, and then you feel such joy and safety and security. And there really is just this crazy mixture of feelings. But actually, I think the biggest feeling, the most impactful thing I felt there was just feeling completely alive. There was nowhere else I felt so alive, so present, so like in the moment, and just so like that is where I am and this is what I'm doing. Because we were just in the middle of nowhere, and it was hard, like, oh gosh, like doing like 7-hour hikes with like all of your stuff on your bag, like for the next 2 months to be living there. And or even just like, and like my personal kind of ones were a lot to do with the ocean. The ocean there, because I spent quite a lot of time by the coast there as well, and I absolutely adore the ocean. Like, there's nothing more I love than snorkeling at coral reefs. And it's just really tricky there because the weather conditions can be mad. And I spent a month in Costa Rica every single day going in the water, swimming, and I got hit by rocks, I got stung by jellyfish, like I was coming out of the sea sometimes and crying. And it
What?
was crazy. But then there was one day in the whole month when I went out, and it was the clearest and stillest thing, and I saw everything that day. And it makes me feel emotional just thinking about it.
Wow. When you're saying you got hit by rocks and stuff, so there would be a day you'd go in there and just the water was that rough that things are swirling. It's like a asteroid field, or rocks just being hurled at you by
Totally.
nature, or what?
Yeah, no, and you know what? I was really stubborn because I could see that there was loads of waves, and I'd get in the water and it would be so cloudy and there's sediment everywhere and there's waves going. But I was like, no, no, I just need to get past the waves, and then maybe it'll be clear. Then maybe it'll be clear. So I'd swim out and out and out. But I remember there was one moment when like I was swimming, and actually then it did actually get clear, and I saw this massive shoal of fish, and the waves are so strong that we kind of like we were kind of in synchrony, where like the fish and I would move one way and then we'd move the other way, and then suddenly a really big wave came and all the fish went, and I was just suddenly really really close to a rock. There was barely any water, and I was like, oh gosh, now I know the wave's going to come and crash over me. So in seconds I just had to like quickly swim out of it, be able to get to deeper water before the waves hit me. I don't even know how actually, but my knee was just bleeding by the end of it. So I must have hit my knee, but I don't remember it, to be honest.
Oh no. How many times have you been stung by a jellyfish? Have you said you got stung?
Yeah, that was another time again when the water it was really weirdly oily that day. And I think it was something to do with the river systems. We have
Oily?
quite
Are
a
you
close
saying it
river.
felt oily?
No, it looked oily. It was
Hmm.
so weird. Like through the goggles, it looked like oil. It was like there was oil smeared in my goggles, but there weren't. Something I think got deposited in the river and then it flew out to the ocean. I don't know what. It was really weird.
Hmm.
But again, I was like, no, I just need to get past that area, and then it's gonna get clear. Then it's gonna get clear. And yeah, I was swimming and I couldn't see anything, and then suddenly I got stung on the arm, and then I then looked the other side, and then I saw another jellyfish. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't see anything. And jellyfish can come in swarms, so I was like, I need to get out of here like immediately, and I just sprinted back to the shore as quickly as possible.
What does a sting do to you? I've never been stung by a jellyfish.
Oh, it just hurts. It's just not very nice. I mean, there's some jellyfish that are really dangerous. Luckily, the one I got stung by wasn't. It was fine. It just stings and it makes your skin go a little bit red and rashy. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's worth
And
it.
you're such a teeny tiny little thing, too. You're a very petite girl. It seems like ouch. Oh, so the sting itself, is it just like something stabbed you, or does it affect was your entire arm in pain, or how does that? I'm curious.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's stabbing pain. It is literally just like it's like a sharp stinging pain, and it is kind of like all over your arm. And I think the thing is, it lasts as well. It doesn't go immediately. It probably lasted for like a couple of hours until it actually went. So it's just not the nicest thing to happen.
Oh
But
my
like I
gosh.
said, you've got to try that water, otherwise you just don't know whether it's going to be clear or not.
And on your Instagram page, there are a few pictures of you snorkeling and a few pictures. You caught a couple of pics. I don't know where that was. Was that in Costa Rica, or do you recall?
That was actually in Panama, I think, if we're talking about the same pictures. Yeah, Panama and the Galapagos Islands is
Okay.
where those pictures happened. And yeah, so they were again amazing places to go snorkeling, but again, difficult and tricky and a bit treacherous at times. But Oh, so amazing as well.
What's treacherous? What was when you use the word treacherous? I can't help but wonder, like, what is she talking about? Like, what exactly?
So there was this, well, it was the one time in Galapagos Islands. It was actually the first time that I went into the water there. And we were, I didn't have a wetsuit or anything. I didn't realize that the water was going to be so cold. I just go in with my bikini and oh my gosh, the water's freezing. But I was like, no, I don't care. I need to go and see. So I'm swimming, swimming, swimming. And then I kind of come towards the land and there's basically like a cave underneath the land, but more like a cave through the mangroves. It's like a tunnel through these mangroves. So I'm swimming through this mangrove kind of tiny tunnel. And then, it's a really small amount of water. And at the back of this tunnel, it kind of opens up a little bit. And I blink, and there are just like 20 sharks sleeping underneath me.
Sleeping?
Yeah, they go there and they rest. And I mean, I had no idea. And I just see all these sharks and these stingrays, and they're all just sleeping on the bottom. And this water's not deep. It's got to only be about 2 meters deep or something. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm so like closer. But I was like, you know what? Like I had a bit of panic moment and then I was like, I'm not leaving. This is the coolest thing ever. And I just floated for ages watching them. And they didn't barely even move. They were properly asleep. And then yeah, just left them after I was satisfied.
I don't know why, but I didn't know sharks slept. I just thought they had to stay in constant motion or something. I'm not even sure where I heard that.
Hmm.
I have
I
an
think yeah, go on.
I have an odd shark story. I can finally contribute something to this conversation.
Yeah.
Besides, wow, I had a gig in Tahiti. I think it was Tahiti. I want to say. I don't know. I've done a lot of shows in the Caribbean and Tahiti and around, whatever, wherever this was. There was a boat that was leaving, and I noticed the more remote areas you go to, the more they feel like, no, we'll just ride this crazy Jeep on a road that's barely a road, or no, we'll just jump over here. Things seem to lean a little more toward danger when it's more remote.
Definitely.
And there was this boat that went out so that you could see sharks and stingrays. And you're in the middle of, I don't even remember what ocean I was in, but you're in the middle of the ocean. And then there was this one kind of area where, a sandbar rose up and we were able to stand up, surrounded by just deep, vast ocean. And if you left, it was a huge, it looked like, geez, they were saying it's like 100 foot or whatever. It was a crazy drop. And sure enough, you're there and you have your snorkel gear on, but it's chest high water, and all of a sudden stingrays start coming up to you, and it was crazy. And you're kind of petting them, and
Whoa.
yeah, they were right on top of you. One kind of kissed my chest, and it was the craziest thing. And I'm like, okay. And then one shark, probably I'm gonna guess it was maybe 4 to 5 feet long, just starts swimming through us all, and you're going down, you're just watching this thing. It didn't attack. I don't know what kind of shark it was. And I do remember the tour guide saying, oh no, if you see a shark, they're fine. These types of sharks are totally harmless. They don't even have teeth or something. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, see, you're giving me the look like, what? Right. And what do I know, right? I'm a dumb tourist. And, my wife Janice is with me. When we saw that shark, and when you see a shark gliding, all of a sudden danger did leave my mind. I just thought, oh my God, look at it, because it's this perfect machine, the way it glides through the water. You can see it in movies, but there's nothing like seeing it, in person. So we, stick our faces in the water with our snorkel gear, and we kind of start following this shark a little bit because it was just fascinating. And then the shark ends up going over the side. So now we're away from the sandbar a little bit, 10 feet out of it. And you look down and you don't see the end. It's just the sea, open space. It just looked like it went on forever, and the shark disappeared. And then the shark kind of came back, but it was well below us, and it starts circling, and it was just beautiful the way it circled. And then another one showed up. So then there were two sharks, and we're just like floating there watching. You're mesmerized, right? We're mesmerized. And by the end of it, there were 5 sharks They just kept increasing.
Wow.
So we saw this little tornado underneath us, 5 sharks just circling, and the numbers kept increasing. And then finally they sort of blew the whistle, and it was time to get back on the boat, and we had to leave. Our eyes were just so wide, and we couldn't wipe the smiles off our faces from that experience. And then we get back to the island, to the little remote hut where you turned in your snorkel gear. And the lady there who collecting, she was new. She'd only been there for like a month. And it makes you wonder whether people are taught the touristy tricks when they work at these places. Maybe they don't want to say certain things to tourists. And maybe she hadn't gone through that yet. I don't know. Because the guy on the boat says they don't even have teeth. When we're turning in our snorkel gear, she says, well, any sharks? And we said, yeah, we saw like 5. And she said, oh boy, anyone get bit? We said, no, they said that they don't even bite, that they don't even have teeth. And she said, oh, no, there have been about a dozen attacks this summer. And we freaked out. And then I feel like I was just remembering any kind of documentary that I'd ever heard, where they talk about how they start stalking you. And they were like lining up, and they were increasing in number and circling us from below. And I just freaked out and thought, oh, no. We were so stupid. But they were like, okay, no, hey, no, Larry. The sharks were talking to each other, calling other sharks, like, Larry, come over here. No, there's 2. No, they're mesmerized. Yeah, I can tell. Bring your sister. We're gonna eat them. Like.
No, you never would have got bitten by a shark. But you know what? I love that story. But you know what I love about it is how when you were in it, you didn't feel any sense of danger.
Right.
Like you were just amazed and mesmerized, and also you were in it. Like, you were part of that nature, and all that fear only came afterwards. And that was from someone said, or a conversation, or maybe how your mind goes. I think that shows us how our fear of that kind of danger of nature or whatever is completely in our heads, and it's in our culture. Because when it happens in real life, you don't feel that fear. And actually, I can promise you, you didn't feel that fear because you weren't threatened. If you were threatened, then you would feel it. Like it's not like we've completely lost all of our animal instincts. Like we know when we should feel scared, but we also know when we're not under threat, and we can just admire nature and just appreciate it. So I don't think you were in at all any amount of danger. I think you just had the most incredible experience. But I think it's amazing how it's afterwards that we can kind of like go, oh, actually, what if like maybe that was really unsafe. We just got to let go of all of that and be like, no, you know what? That was just an epic experience.
Oh my God. So you see, you are like the Mary Poppins of nature, because you like made it all better. I have 2 experiences in my brain for that, the beauty of it. And I was mesmerized totally. But then the after the fact where I thought that they were going to eat me. But talking to you makes it's totally, you're like nature's spoonful of sugar, man. We need your voice to be heard. I hope that your pursuits and your ideas and this book, I hope they all become visible to the world, because I like what you're about. I like what you do. There's a lot of goodness to you. The planet needs people like you in it. It's very important. All these years, I find myself gravitating toward good-natured people, because I felt like in my own personal circles, there was almost like a shortage of just truly good-natured people. And I'm so glad that I've figured out a way to kind of navigate more toward them. But you're an entirely different entity that we need. You're a person that's not just good-natured, but you're good for nature. And we need many more of you.
Oh, you're so kind.
Yeah, no, you are a treat. I could talk to you for hours. Like, this is great.
This is fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Well, tell me again, tell everybody, let's hear your website again. What's the website?
Okay, so the website is wildspace.uk.
Okay.
And then my name, Julia Galbenu. I should spell my second name, really, because who knows how to spell Galbenu?
Smart.
Galbenu. And yeah, just search my website. The book is called Find Your Wild. You could find that on Spotify. On my website, there's my email address and my contact details too. There's tons about my book and the Wild Space Project and about what I do. And yeah, so just check it out. And I hope some people reach out. It'd be great.
Do you have a lot of of the photos? It's weird that I don't think I looked at photos on your website because of your Instagram page. Are there a lot of photos on the website as well?
Yes, there are. There's tons of photos all over the website. And actually, for each, so I've uploaded some of the chapters for the book, and each chapter at the bottom of it, there's a whole gallery of photos that are about whatever I'm talking about.
Well, I feel like I just spent over an hour with the queen of the forest. It's been such a treat. You made an impression on me when I first met you, but meeting you personally was very quick and fleeting. You know, it was at one or two of my shows, and in those worlds, I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm going to sing. Oh, yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
To get real time with you has been great. And can people go to your Instagram? Because your Instagram is really cool.
Yeah, definitely my Instagram, and it's just Julia Galbenu. Search it there, and it's open public for everyone.
Yeah, it's so great. The gift of knowing you was really that Instagram page. You were here for a very short amount of time, but when you went back and we became Instagram friends or whatever it is, man, I loved watching it. Well, it's great. People definitely go to the Instagram page, support her causes, and just put your eyes on all of her stuff, because I promised you, now that you've heard her voice, seeing the pictures and seeing all the videos that accompany it, it's an all-around good time. It's like getting a wonderful hug from Mother Nature. That's seriously everything about you. I like your energy. I like your spirit. There's a kindness you have toward people and the planet, and I think we all need to be a little bit more like you. And if we are, then I think just the whole world will at the very least just smell nicer. So,
definitely don't smell much nicer after months in the Amazon rainforest with no showers.
Well, yeah, I hope there should be a secondary side book that's just about, my stench.
Exactly.
My pits while walking through the pits of Honduras. Like that's a whole other book. And then you get like a deodorant deal. You see, this is
exactly
marketing, and you get rich at the same time, and then you can fund more things. Well, this whole idea of what I would call nature's Disney World and everything else, it's just really cool. And I can't press you enough to finish this book and get it out there, because I would really love to read it. I really loved what I experienced on Spotify. And yeah, guys, make sure you're checking out the book on Spotify. Let's get that name one more time on Spotify.
Find Your Wild.
Find Your Wild. Come on. Title alone, man. The title alone is great. Well, you have been an absolute treat. Thank you so much for doing this. I love international because it's 3 p.m. here. What time is it in England right now where you are?
It is 9 o'clock. You can see it's been getting darker and darker as we've spoken.
I noticed that in the Zoom when we started, it was bright, and I thought, oh my gosh, she is like nature's queen. Like, she even only goes by natural light when she's at home. It'll get dark. What is your favorite? Real quick before I let you go, like, what kind of cuisine are we talking out there? Like, what's your favorite, like, at-home meal, or if you're getting something from like a local restaurant, what's good out there?
Oh, I mean, I love trying loads of different foods. So for me, like, I love Thai food and
no, but
Indian
is there
food.
anything that's really I don't have much that I equate to an English meal.
Yeah, because we don't really have a lot. We just steal from other cultures.
Okay.
I think like British culture food, it's got to be fish and chips by the seaside, or like your Sunday roast at the pub. That's your proper kind of British cuisine. That's all we have.
And do you like having a pint here and there?
Oh, of course.
Really?
Love a good pint. Love a good pint in the pub.
What is your beer of choice?
Oh, I love a San Miguel.
Okay.
Fun.
San Miguel.
Peroni. Yeah, those are good.
See that? This is all fun stuff. And then you guys have been a gift in so many other ways too. You gave us our best Spider-Man. So, I mean, come on. Tom Holland's he's the one though. He's my favorite Spider-Man. So, well, anyway, I really appreciate you doing this and taking the time. This has been a treat. You really are. You're wonderful. Conversation with you is just like munching on nature's granola. It's delicious, fun, and tasty, and puts me in a good mood. That's what granola does for me. So now you know her, people. Now you love her. So look all of her stuff up, everything online that we've referenced. Find it and love it, and start thinking about the message too. It's really nice when you get something that's fun, when you get a good message that's delivered in great packaging, because this is fun. You'll actually enjoy yourself. But it's one of those funny things where, well, if you're not careful, you might learn something along the way. Put yourselves through the experience, because it's really nice. At the very least, just hearing your voice tell the story is such a treat on its own. So find that on Spotify, people. You will not be disappointed. This is what makes you perfect for this podcast. I typically run into writers, singers, songwriters, directors, whatever it is. And the fact that you've started your art, you started a book, your life was called in different directions, but just to not let the art die until completion, you took what you had, you put it out there in Spotify, you actually used what you had, you took your creative juices, and in the meantime, till the book is done, you still put your creative bits out there. Creative bits, it sounds so dirty. But still, seriously, you did that, and that's a tribute to you. So everybody out there should know, whatever you have, you can still go for it. Completion may not always work out just because life can get in the way, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't put what you have out there. Put it in the world. Put everything in the world, because this is like the busiest girl I've encountered, and she has still found a way to put it out there. So do that if you can, people. There. So thank you all for listening. We will see you next time. And in the meantime, have a great month. Have a great week. Have a great day. Go out and find your smile. So there, you've just done your big official podcast. your first American podcast. Yeah, did you have fun?
That was so much fun. That was wonderful.
Welcome to my life so far. You'd think by now I'd be a star. I may be long-winded, but hey, there's just so much I have to say. Maybe lick your lips when you're hungry. Maybe drop your head when you're sorry. Maybe shake a bit when you're worried.